What is going on, guys? Jesse504 here, bringing you all your PBA Week 3 recap. For the future, these will be going up on Tuesdays, because I have an upload on my own channel that goes up on Mondays, and even though there's two separate channels, still kind of challenging uploading two videos in one day. So we'll just be moving forward with these on Tuesdays. Also gives time for games to get done Sunday night and even potential Monday extensions still being featured in the weekly recap. But same stuff as last week. We've got matches of the week, standings, and MVP races. So let's just hop right into the Gimbal Match of the week, featuring Freeze and Jake. And Jake started off the match with a final Gambit Victini, but fortunately for Freeze, the Mamoswine was sashed and was able to get up free rocks, pretty much trading Mamoswine for Victini and rocks, which is quite nice because although I'm sure that both the Mamoswine and the Victini, they weren't like supposed to do too much just because it was a Sash Rocks Mamoswine and a Gambit Victini. I'm sure it's still nice because those are two threats, so both of them I'm sure were happy to see a threat eliminated. And then later on, Freeze was able to get a Swords Dance up with the Kartana behind Regieleki's Reflect, which led it 1v1 the Skarmory. But then Jake got the Garchomp in on the Regieleki, leading to free subs and Swords Dances, so that it could take down both the Golisopod and Regieleki. But then Freeze pulled up with the Power Up Punch Mega Medi, and it got to +3, taking down Reuniclus and Garchomp with an Ice Punch and Bullet Punch. But Torrent boosted Water Shuriken, Greninja was able to pick off the Mega Medicham, and I believe it chained together 4 or 5 hits to take down the Moltres Galar after an Agility, which was very scary, but thankfully the Greninja pulled through for Jake, and so that knocked Freeze down off his undefeated record, and Jake moved to 2-1, which was it was a very good match to watch. It was a nail biter for sure, and it was really entertaining, good prep from both sides. But without further ado, let's move on to the Goomy Match of the week, where we see Dawson and his Sacramento Sizzlers taking on Ice Ninja's Murder Queen Magirnas. And Dawson showed off his reads turn 1, staying in with a Nidoqueen to set rocks against her Greninja. However, Ice removed these rocks right after with the Rotom Wash, and then got the Salazzle in behind a sub, and it proceeded to do Salazzle things, chipping down Nidoqueen with Toxics and Flamethrowers, as well as Mantine with Toxic, and then forcing the Heal Bell Licky in. Unlike the Gable Gang match, the first kill came late on the 26th turn with Mega Aggron EQing the Nidoqueen, getting that mon out, and then Dawson got his Buzzwole in pretty freely to get Chip on the Rotom Wash, Salazzle, and Togekiss, and was able to KO the Mew before it ended up dropping to Salazzle. And then Ice got his Greninja in on the Mega Gardevoir, predicting a Psychic move, but then he got Hyper Voiced, KOing the Greninja. And this led to a sort of stall war until Rotom chewed a Salazzle Flamethrower and took that down, but then Mega Aggron was very, very strong despite being burnt, and was able to get 2 final kills on the Licky and Rotom, living on 8% HP, and there was a little bit of hacks involved with a Flamethrower burn, but other than that, it was a very clean game that came down to the wire. I still think that Dawson potentially could have won if he didn't get burnt, but it just made it much easier for Ice to win. So congrats, Ice, for knocking down an undefeated coach, getting your first win of the season. It was another very close match, good match to watch. But now let's move into the standings for Gable Gang, and we see only 2 teams remain undefeated, being the San Francisco Deltas, coached by Blau, and then the Team Liquidation, coached by Vini. And I believe that they play each other this week, so that will be a very, very good game to watch. And then we see a handful of 2-1 teams rounding out the top 8, being the Barcelona Slowbros, Ice Cold Kira Blacks, New York Blazekins, Chesapeake Chimchars, Munich Munchlax, and Southeast Shamans, all at 2-1. And Epic has the chance to move to 2-1, and with pretty good differential could land himself a 3rd seed with a victory. But he could fall back with a loss, but he can't fall back that far just because his diff is very good for being 1-1. He is at +5, which is fantastic. And then we have a handful of 1 and 2 teams, being the Melbourne Magnazones, Dallas Dawn Fans, Rochester Rillaboos, and New York Groudons. And then Phil sitting at 0-2, still needs to play Epic. And then Ben and Serp at 0-3. I still think that these guys will be able to put up wins. I believe they also play each other this week. So hopefully we'll see these two teams put up wins by the end of the season. I had high hopes for Ben this season, just seeing how well he played Season 2, Season 3. I'm sure he'll be able to bounce back. Obviously, 8-week season, very punishing if you do start out 0-3 or 1-3. But you can still claw back to the playoffs if you really put up 5 victories in a row. It'll be tough though. But yeah, looks pretty good for those teams if you're sitting at the top, and not so great if you're sitting at the bottom after week 3. And let's look at the Goomy standings, and we see something pretty similar. Congrats, Gumi, getting all of your matches in on time this week. Thank you. And then we see Helix sitting at +1, 3-0, +13, followed by Dylan and the Boston Syndicals, and Shady and the Breaking Zolts, all at 3-0. Very, very good. It's nice to see Shady and Helix have bounce back seasons, while Dylan is having a good season for his first run in the PBA. And then to round out playoffs, there is the Memphis Melmetal, Sacramento Scissors, Team Dark Dragon Knights, E-Town Cavaliers, and Open Water Wailords, all sitting at 2-1, followed by a plethora of 1-2 teams being the Southeast Snorlaxes, Jinx Jolts, Rockford Roselia's Hyper Offense with the Dusclops, and Murder Queen McGearness, all at 1-2. And then hopefully we see Zoo, Shandy, and Lynn all at the bottom. But hopefully they'll be able to put up wins. I believe in them this season that all of them will be able to put up at least one win going forward the rest of the season. A very interesting breakdown of wins. 3 3-0 teams, 3 0-3 teams, 5 2-1 teams, 5 1-2 teams. It's nice and pleasing to the eye to look at for this leaderboard. But I trust that many of these coaches that aren't quite in the top 8 yet will be able to make it. For example, Halleck's very good diff for being 1-2 at +4. That's actually quite nice diff for being 1-2. And then I think he'll be able to put up games. Obviously, if you're sitting at 0-3 right now, you really got to win out to make playoffs, but it's still possible for sure. But it'll be good to watch. Alrighty, and going to look at the MVP standings, we see the Gable MVP with the Crobat sitting at 9-1 +8, which is very good. It was obviously 6-0 after week 1. Same with the Thwacky. That Thwacky appears to be more of a one-game wonder, with putting up 6 kills in week 1. And followed by the Zarude also at 6-0. And then a handful of 5-0 Mons, being the Mega Arrow, the Hitmonlee, and the Slurpuff. And then we got the 6-2 Mega Metachamp, because MVP race is calculated by differential here in the PBA. So if you don't let your Mons die, they'll probably be at the top just over time. And followed by Vinny's Breloom, then the Hawlucha from IRES, and finally Mew rounding out the top 10. It looks like only Blau has 2 Mons in the top 10. Very impressive from him, being Mew, Mega Arrow. Obviously a core that you see drafted a lot together, but I rarely see both of them in the top 10 kills. But they're both very potent sweepers. Arrow's a great cleaner, and then Mew can obviously set up sweep very well, or stall break. Really do whatever you needed to. It is a Mew after all. But let's go ahead and look at the Goomy MVP race to round this out. And we see Sylveon at number 1 sitting at 8-1 +7, which is fantastic. And then we got the Zapdos, followed by Mega Metacham, both by Dylan, which is very surprising to see. 2 and 3 on the same team. I've seen, like I said, 2 in the top 10, but 2 and 3 is very surprising. I believe I did that myself in the Insurgency. I had 2 and 3 on the MVP board, but it's not something that you see every day. Followed by Torrentee, and then the Mega Diancie, Mega Charizard X, Xurkitree, Breloom, Urshifu Single, and Latios. I believe Breloom is at 8 in both MVP races, which is quite interesting. Maybe postseason I'll get Vinny to do something where he'll add the total MVP race from both divisions and we can see how they add up. I think that'd be interesting. But then this time around we see not only Dylan having 2 Mons, but also Helix having 2 Mons, which is interesting. And yeah, Mons that I wouldn't expect to see here. I really hardly ever see Breloom anymore. And seeing 2 Brelooms in the top 10, both divisions, that's actually quite surprising. But other than that, everything looks fairly standard. Other than the Sylveon number 1, I rarely see that mon getting crazy amounts of kills, but it is a very potent wall breaker with Pixelate Hyper Voices, and Andre showed us exactly why. But those were your Match of the Week's leaderboards and MVP races, so thank you all for watching the PBA Week 3 recap, and until next time, Jesse504 out. Peace.